All right, guys and girls, this is the first review for the final. This is Unit 11, all the way back to some triangle trigonometry. Alrighty, so the first couple are SOHCAHTOA because it is a right triangle, so you can do it because of these two right angles. Later on, you can't do this if there's not a right angle. So let's look at this first one. You can do this a couple different ways. You could try to solve for this side first. You could do that by put an x here and then do x squared, a squared plus b squared equals c squared, like that. And then do your math, 14 squared and 15 squared. So x squared plus 196. And you could go about your business this way. So you're going to get a decimal because the square root of 29 is not pretty. So this would be across from angle B. So this is side B. The sides, if you remember, are lowercase letters. So that would be this one down here, 5.38. I guess that would round to 9 if I rounded 2 decimals. So you could do that. You could also get this angle right away. I'm going to erase this x for now. And if you remember, you can label sides. So here's your angle. Remember, opposite is over here, across from the angle. Adjacent is this one, and the hypotenuse is the long one. So then I look at that and I'm asking myself, okay, I was given the adjacent side and the hypotenuse, and I'm like, oh, that's so sorry. That was A and H right here. Remember SOHCAHTOA, A and H. So this is a cosine question. So the cosine of that angle is A over H, 14 over 15. And at this point, you have to recall that when you don't know the angle, you do the inverse button on your calculator. So inverse cosine, you hit second cosine, and then you can just type 14 over 15. Make sure your calculator is on degrees. You do that by hitting the mode button. So that would be angle B, 21.03 degrees. And then the final thing that we don't know is angle A, but that's fairly easy because all three angles add up to 180. So we have angle C is 90, angle B we just found 21.03. Add those up, and then subtract them from 180. Oops, I did that wrong. 180 minus 111.03. So 68.97 degrees. Okay. All right, next one. I'm gonna dive in right away with this one. Label it O and H. I'm not even gonna label this side because, well, I don't have it and I don't need it. So when I have O and H, SOHCAHTOA, O and H is S, so it is a sine equation. The sine of 58 degrees equals 8 over x. When the x is on the bottom, remember what we did is we move it. That's what I think of. I multiply the x over here, which moves it, and then let me rewrite it. Then I've got, should have left more room to work here. X times the sine of 58 equals 8. And at this point, I just want this to go over here with the 8, so I'm going to divide it. Divide both sides by sine 58. Long story short, when the x is on the bottom, you end up doing this divided by this. So 9.4. Let's just round it to that. And what we just found is across from angle C, so it is side C, lowercase c. All right, let me get this out of there. Oop. Okay, then for side B, the final side, you can do Pythagorean theorem, a squared plus b squared equals c squared, or you can do what we just did again. So for example, let me use a different color. If I want to find this side B, I could use this opposite side of 8, and then this is the adjacent side. So that would be opposite and adjacent, which is tangent, remember? Tangent, opposite and adjacent. And essentially repeat what I just did, but with tangent. So tangent of 58 equals 8 over side B. And again, when it's like this, you end up dividing. 8 divided by tangent of 58. Let's just round that to 5. Okay. The easy part, you have this is 90, you have this is 58. So what's the last angle? Well, just add up those two and subtract from 180, and you got it. So 32. All right, that's right triangle trig. Now, these next two laws, law of sines, law of cosines, you do when it is not a right triangle. So let's just dive in. Number 3, which method will we do? We are going to do the law of sines this time, because if you remember this formula, you have to have an angle and the side across from it to use this formula, angle A and side A. So down here, I have 21 is across from 100. So I have a pair, and whenever you have an angle and the side that pairs with it, it's a hint that you're going to do the law of sines. So sine of 21 over 100 equals, and then you get to pick the other one. So I have 140 degrees and the x. So put sine of 140 over x. And then to solve these, you cross multiply. So 100 times the sine of 140 equals x times the sine of 21. Then to do that, you just divide the sine of 21 on both sides. And your sine of 21s will cancel. Then you just got to type that whole thing in. Just be careful with your parentheses, okay? I got 179 is for my x, 0.36. All right. Next, which rule are we going to use here? For number 4, it's going to be law of cosines, mainly because I'm looking at it. I do not have an angle and the side that goes with it. I have this angle, but I do not have that side. I have 30, but I do not have that side. I have side 28, but I do not have that. So this is, oh, I just lied. Back up the bus. That is what I don't have, but I can get angle C pretty easily by adding up these two angles and subtracting it from 180. So this is going to be 28 degrees for angle C. Now, this changes things. It's law of sines, because I do have a pair right here, an angle on the side that pairs with it. So it's going to be sine 28 degrees over 28 equals, and then you can pick which other part do you want to find first. let's just say you're going to do 122 and this. It's across from big A, so this is side A. So it would be sine 122 over lowercase a. To save time, I'll just show you on the calculator. You're going to cross multiply these and divide. So what you would type in would be 28 times the sine of 122 divided by sine 28. We got 50.6, let's say. Okay, then you need to repeat this process one more time. You're going to use this again. I'm just going to copy the green part. And the only thing that changes is now I'm going to use angle B and side B. So it would be the sine of 30 over side B. And then you, same thing, you cross multiply and divide just like you did. So like so. 29.8. Okay. All right. This one, maybe this one will be law of cosines. Yes, it is. Because I don't have any angles, I only have sides. So that's a dead giveaway. So I have to do law of cosines. And you start the whole long equation. Remember the law of cosines equation up here? This thing right here. Oof. Okay? With the side that you don't know, or sorry, the angle that you don't know. Man, I'm not saying this well, sorry. Is across from 27. So you start the whole equation with 27. So 27 squared equals, then these two are the other side. So it's 12 squared plus 32 squared. You can look back up here. I'm plugging in to right here. Right, so I got my C is 27, my A is 12, my B is 32. And then continuing on, minus 2 times 12 times 32 times the cosine of angle X. Now, I do believe, depending on which teacher you had, one of them might have showed you this. You can also do this, which might be a little more direct. I've always done it this way, which might be the long way. Now you have to slowly start finding all of these things, okay, and breaking it down. 2 times 12 times 32. So I've got all of those numbers that kind of make it up. So it's 729, 144 plus 1024 minus 768 cosine of x. Then I slowly am going to subtract that and subtract that. So 729 minus 144 minus 1024. So that would be negative 439 equals negative 768 times the cosine of x. Okay. Remember the negative. A lot of kids forget that. Now I'm going to divide by negative 768. I'm not adding it, okay, because these are being multiplied right here, and you get a decimal. 0.57 equals the cosine of x. And when you do not know the angle, recall that you do the inverse button with the little negative 1 of 0.57. So I got 55 degrees, 55.2 degrees, okay? You might get a slightly different answer if you use the entire decimal, like 0.5716, blah, blah, blah. All right, next one is also a law of cosines. How do I know? Because it's side, angle, side. Whenever you have side, angle, side, it's always law of cosines. And furthermore, you're going to be finding this side over here, which happens to be the question. How far is Camp A from the fire? This side of the triangle. So start off the whole thing with x squared, because that's the side we don't know. Kind of like up here, we started with 27 squared, because it was across from my angle. So 32 degrees, across from that is x. And then the rest would be 394 would be like the 12 and the 32 up here. Okay? So 94 squared plus 300 squared minus 2 times 94 times 300 times the cosine of 32. This, you can just slam the whole thing in your calculator. Just be careful. Lots of room for mistakes. And one little wrong button, and your answer will be off by a little bit. Slam it all in, so I have x squared equals that large 51,006.08. And the last thing you do is you square root and square root. Second square root, if you didn't know this, you can just go up and hit enter. 225 is how far Camp A is from the fire. This is yards. All right. There you go. Enjoy.